All right, so our group presentation was about cognitive impairment and what it is and how we can help those who struggle with it. So what is it? Cognitive impairment is when a person has trouble remembering, learning new things, concentrating, or making decisions that affect their everyday life. It can be moderate or severe based on IQ levels and things like that.
So some of the characteristics of someone who has a cognitive impairment, some have some troubles learning academically, being in social situation, um, and just that the learning is limited, and sometimes they need more intensive services and help than those with moderate impairments do. Sometimes the amount of information they can learn is limited. They can learn a lot slower than other students in their class, and they can have difficulty in maintaining the skills that they have. So repetition is kind of necessary in a classroom when you have a student who has this impairment. There is a delayed intellectual development and inefficiency in learning. A lot of times when a teacher realizes that they have a cognitive impairment, they actually have this failure expectancy of the student, that because of this impairment that they aren't going to succeed.
Some instructional supports. Curriculum can be modified to match the learning needs. The include strategy is really important to help them. Also, collaborating with colleagues to know what to do and how to help them. Peers, older students, parent volunteers, student teachers, and others can really help to assist students with their cognitive impairments. Older students can serve as peer tutors or special buddies, both for instruction and for development of appropriate social skills. It's really important to communicate regularly with the students' parents to make sure that they know, what their child is struggling with, but also what they're excelling in and the ways that they're improving.
Some of the causes of this impairment is that, honestly, it's not really caused by any one disease or condition. That sometimes it's a genetic disorder, sometimes it's due to kind of environmental factors, lack of nutrients, and sometimes even substance abuse or even hormonal imbalances when the mother is still pregnant. And sometimes it can do with like physical injury as well.
More than 16 million people in the U.S. Live with a cognitive impairment. Some symptoms include memory loss, frequently asking the same question or repeating things over and over, not recognizing people and places that are familiar to them, having trouble exercising judgment, such as knowing what to do in an emergency, changes in mood or behavior. Sometimes they have vision problems, and difficulty planning and carrying out tasks.
For the treatment, there is no FDA-approved medications. A lot of the medications help with symptoms, but they don't really have a lasting effect and really no cure for these impairments. So a lot of health specialists and doctors kind of suggest exercising on a regular basis, controlling cardiovascular risk factors, eating healthy, and participating in mentally stimulating and socially engaging activities. When doing these things, that the actual impairment isn't as severe, that it can be managed a little bit, but in no way is it cured. And it's something that should be evaluated every 6 months to see how the symptoms are and if any of the treatments are working.
So some developmental history that is important to know is, making sure that they have a thorough knowledge of the student's history in their past. This is to help them with eligibility to know if they need special education. Parents' perception and concern of child's age. So, like, at what age they are starting to notice that there are problems. Health and medical history, their birth story and educational history, developmental milestones, if they are achieving them or not, language acquisition, social development and play patterns, evidence of skill or aggression in any area, and family history of developmental conditions are all important to know when deciding.
A lot of the time, processing, memory, reasoning and concept formation, attendance in classes, a profile of strengths and deficits, and then evaluating patterns of responses, both psychological testing, and achievement testing, that these are all kind of keys in eligibility.
Some things that need to be considered is the adverse educational impact and the need for special education. Eligibility must come from the condition and its effect on performance, but not from lack of instruction or limited English proficiency. It's important to know that it actually is something that's needed and not just a temporary thing that the child struggles with. Their social and cultural background is important to know, and when deciding on eligibility, courts refer to three basic elements: eligibility with criteria within an eligibility category, adverse educational impact, need for special education programs and services.
So, in conclusion, cognitive impairments are all around us, and we need to be aware of kind of how we can help those that have them and be able to support them. Because there is no medication prescribed for cognitive impairments, there are medications that help assist them, so we still need to do our part in being healthy and keeping our minds healthy, and being able to teach skills and being healthy, and that they'll be able to live with their impairments without it really taking away from their day-to-day lives. We do need to have patience and be willing to be flexible in our teaching styles to accommodate those with mental disabilities. Like earlier, there's 16 million people that have this. It's not something that's rare, and so that's something that should already be kind of an innate part of us, is being able to be flexible and help those that just need some extra help. Anything?